Hi, and welcome to another LMS or Life Math Short. Here at the Life Math Podcast, we value your time a lot and we know that you want to listen to us every now and then, but you don't have time, so that's why we've created these shorter episodes. Enjoy.
Alright, guys. So, I don't know if you have heard what's been going on in the world of NFTs, or if you have heard the word NFT at all, but it's those so called overpriced JPEG images online that have been fetching absolutely crazy prices recently. Uh, some have sold for more than $10 million. I remember when I first got this wow moment was when the Nyan Cat NFT was sold for a bit more than $500,000, which is just this short pixelated GIF of the rainbow cat running.
How much?
$600, a bit less than $600. Sorry, six hundred
For
thousand dollars.
$600.
$600,000. Yes,
Yeah.
which for any 20 kilobyte GIF is just absurd. So because of this whole phenomenon of NFTs and the real world implications that it's starting to have, such as selling anything for tens of millions, which has no kind of intrinsic value, at least I would argue, we decided to make a very short episode about what's the whole deal with NFTs, what are they, how they work, why do they fetch these prices, etc.
Yeah.
Life math.
Life Math, a podcast undescribably tangled, unnecessarily complex, so bad that it's good. Life Math.
So, the first time I heard about NFTs, by the way, was when one NFT was sold for $25,000, and it was this thumbnail for a blog article. And then I'm like, okay, let me Google NFTs. What are they? But not everybody has time for this. So, Iso, what is an NFT?
Alright, so NFT stands for non-fungible token, which probably tells you absolutely nothing. Now, when I say token, what this meant is some piece of data on a digital public ledger or the blockchain. So think of it, it's something that's publicly accessible on some blockchain, which you can vaguely think of as on the internet, right? And non-fungible essentially means non-interchangeable. Ilya, do you want to introduce fungibility as a concept? Because I know it comes from economics.
Right. Okay, so fungibility usually refers to interchangeability. And when we were studying it, it was closely related to fiat money, so basically banknotes, and the money that we use everywhere. The idea is that if I have a $5 banknote and you have a $5 banknote, we would value these two objects, like these two banknotes, the same way. And if we exchange them and I get your $5 and you get mine, nothing would change for either of us. Like it's absolutely the same. So there are stuff in the world which are interchangeable and other stuff which are not. And in economics and complicated stuff, you usually call these fungible. So we want to give a couple of examples. So let's give three fungible items and three non-fungible items. So we already gave one. Money, the banknote that we use, generally fungible.
Money is fungible. I would say if you have a pile of rice, any rice grain is fungible with any other rice grain for all practical purposes. So they're fungible.
So any type of commodity, for instance, 1 liter of water is the same as another liter of water, right? So these are all fungible stuff. How about non-fungible?
So for non-fungible, one common example I have seen is plots of land, because if you own some plot of land,
Very well.
that's it. There's no other like it. There's no place like home, meaning your home is non-fungible. And
Very good. That's a very good one.
which, by the way, people are using very literally, because I have seen, we'll talk about it later on the NFT marketplaces, people are selling plots of land in made up digital worlds for digital games, like Second Life type of thing, and they're selling plots of land as NFTs.
Let's leave this for later. Finally, to close this topic off, so what do we have? Land, non-fungible. NFTs, non-fungible.
Ah, very good, very good.
Art, generally,
Yeah,
non-fungible.
yeah.
A very, very good example is art. So, I cheated a bit with the three examples, but let's move on because we want to keep this short.
We want to keep it life math short.
NFTs. Usually, when we talk about NFTs, people throw around a lot of crypto words and blockchain words. So, how are NFTs different from cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example?
Right. So both kind of live on the blockchain. The blockchain is nothing more than a public ledger of information, generally transactions between different addresses, and cryptocurrencies are generally speaking fungible. Uh, um, so just the number that you have of this cryptocurrency really matters. Whereas for exchanging it, NFTs are, well, non-fungible, right? So they're just unique pieces of information that you can't really exchange for any other piece of information because nothing is, well, the same.
Right. Okay. But what we know about both of these is that Bitcoin is exploding out of control and some NFTs are exploding out of control as well. But there are very different economic processes involved, right? Because the Bitcoin gives the promise of decentralized currency, decentralized payments, like money which is not controlled by any central bank or government effects by extension. And what is the big promise of NFTs then? So,
Right. So I have some, you know, internal understanding for this, but honestly, it took me a long time to reach that of just reading articles and talking to people who know more than me about this because it's just a bit vague if you ask me how people put it usually. So the bottom line for me is the following. Cryptocurrencies are the blockchain equivalent of money, while NFTs are the blockchain equivalent of copyright, essentially. That's my internal understanding. And they promise to solve the problem of copyright, more particularly. Right now, if you're an artist and you create some piece of digital art, like some amazing, I don't know, splash screen or something, and people use and reuse it, and they keep reusing it, thousands of transactions down the line of reusability, there's no way you're ever actually getting your money unless you're, I don't know, some immense corporation that has large scale operation to protect their IP and copyright, and they sue people over it, and it's very expensive and hard, right? Whereas with NFTs, the way it works is that the whole chain of transactions is on the public ledger. It is traceable. So it's called mint the NFT. So once you mint the NFT, that is, put it on the blockchain as the author, the first person to put it there, you can also set this property, which is for royalties, where you say, for any transaction from now on this NFT, I want to receive 10% of it, of the value of the transaction. So from then onwards, you don't have to, chase people who use your picture without permission and try to take them to court if they don't pay you, etc. No, it's the system where all transactions are traceable, and you can automatically get your royalties for the transactions of this NFT.
so if I mint an NFT of something I created, every time somebody else buys it from person B, person C, person D, and so on, I always get money.
If you have defined the NFT in this way when you minted it, you might also decide to not receive royalties if you don't want to.
Right. Well, sounds cool for me.
So is this empowerment of creators. That's how they brand themselves. They empower the digital creators because they give them a more handy tool to essentially get their money back once the thing has been sold. And think about those like the great masters of old, like some Renaissance like masters of painting or sculpture or something. They create their object, they sell it once for some set price, which is usually not even that much, and from that point onwards, kind of rich people and aristocracy and stuff can sell these pieces of art between themselves for immense amounts of money, and the original author gets none of this, right? Whereas with NFTs, if this object becomes immensely valuable and rich people toss it between themselves for millions and millions, well, then the artist will get, rightfully so, a piece of that pie. So that's the big promise of NFTs, the way I see it.
Right, and it's very big in the creator economy, as you say, and this is how they call it: creator economy, and this its subset, passion economy. So these two are getting stronger and stronger right now with TikTok, Instagram, all these places where people create. They have photos, they have videos, they have all kinds of stuff. But you go on TikTok, you like something, you download it, and it's yours now. You do whatever you want with it, and nobody can tell you a thing. Now, with an NFT, you could mint an NFT for your TikTok or your Instagram photo, and then every time somebody wants to use it and they buy it or sell it, you get money. And yeah, I guess that's the big fuss about.
Right. So there's all of
That's what the
those
big fuss is about.
issues now that, well, let's say it's very new. So NFTs as certificates of ownership have zero legal implications. You can't use it to sue somebody based on NFT ownership. They're just kind of an agreement in the digital space, but they have no legal bearing. Also, if you create an NFT of your picture, and that doesn't mean that people can't just download and use it, right? Is the thing that if they want to use it on some sort of platform which requires them to prove ownership and recognizes the blockchain proof of definition as valid, then they won't be able to use it there. And that's why I presume that if this whole NFT space continues to grow so quickly and be recognized more and more, at some point you have to kind of prove ownership of digital assets that you use, probably by having their NFT contracts on the blockchain. But for now, yeah, nothing really stops people from just downloading the asset.
In the beginning, when we said what is non-fungible, what does non-fungibility mean? I was strongly convinced that if we give a couple of examples of non-fungible things, we would quickly reach what can be created as an NFT. So one was art. So we discussed art a bit. We discussed the modern social media art, let's say TikTok, Instagram. But your first example was land. And how about it? Can I buy your apartment with an NFT? Can you make an NFT for your apartment? Is that how it works?
Well, there's the thing that right now there's just zero legal basis and legislation for this, right? Like for you to send me this piece of land that you own, you have to have a legally binding contract recognized by the legislation in the country that it's in. That's it. So, and NFTs are not recognized.
Yeah, assume that your country recognizes NFTs as this. So can we remove the certificate of ownership, the paper one, and use an NFT instead?
Well, in principle, yes, absolutely. That's exactly what NFTs are promising to be. They're promising to be a more appropriate for the digital age system to deal with certificates of ownership. So logically, nothing would preclude in the future, if the government recognizes NFTs in the blockchain as a valid legal basis for selling a plot of land, for example, to use this technology instead of the current one, which is in essence very similar, because right now we sign the contract, which is the same as transacting the NFT between ourselves, and then it goes on some public ledger, which right now it's the country's public landowning hall of records, whereas otherwise it's just the blockchain. So they're very similar in how they work. It's just that one is intrinsically digital and cryptographically safe. What this means is that if you sell me your apartment and the proof of this transaction is some paper document which has several copies, it's technically possible that, you lose your copy and then the other one burns in a fire and that's it. There's no more proof. Which doesn't realistically happen. There's many copies in different places, but still. Whereas with the digital certificates, it's on the blockchain. So unless some big cataclysmic event happens that brings down the whole blockchain, which is not unthinkable, but is highly unlikely, well, it's just stored there and nobody can tamper with it as well. That's very important because with physical evidence, anybody can tamper with and change it in some way retroactively. Whereas whatever goes on the blockchain, nobody can tamper with. That's it. That's it. Supposedly.
Okay, imagine I'm this super crypto enthusiast, and will my ideal world be all my money is in Bitcoin or whatever crypto, and all the things that I own are some kind of NFTs, and basically you have an NFT of your flat, let's say, and I come to you, I don't even need to see you or the apartment, and I just buy your NFT with my Bitcoin. You receive the Bitcoin, and then I own your flat forever.
Well, isn't this essentially equivalent to how it really works in the real world?
Yeah, but I mean, no lawyers, no notaries, no government involved. So nothing is involved. It is just me going to the website iskrenvankov.apartments.com where you have listed all your property and and I can just buy your NFT.
Yeah, I guess so. But I really think that it's not going to really ever become this. Why? Because this whole bureaucracy around the government, notaries making sure it's so good, they're here for a reason, right? And they usually protect both parties' interests to make sure that nothing dodgy is going on, that it's legal, that nobody gets tricked. And if there's just no checks of this sort, I feel like many people will get tricked, such as with the Squid Game cryptocurrency that arrived. Now it arrived, people invested in it. A couple of days later, it disappeared. People pocketed the money, the creators, and that's it, gone. So I think there will always be some sort of checks when, for example, transferring a plot of land or some property.
Sorry, crypto enthusiasts. Iskren said no NFTs for buying property for you. Maybe later.
We can have NFT notaries and NFT lawyers, and there we go.
They never, there are these like the Foundation by Isaac Asimov and all these like futuristic movies. Nobody's talking about purchasing land there. Like they should all show how people buy stuff with crypto, so crypto people are happy.
Which, when you say now, actually, I remember that our high school history teacher always said, like, she must have repeated this to us more than 100 times over the course of high school, that the biggest question in human history was the question of ownership of the land. Who owns the land? Is it whoever lives on it? Is it the lord of whatever local area they're in? Is it the government, whatever that is through the years? Is it all of humanity's shared assets? So this question she's repeated to us. Her opinion was that the biggest question ever is of the ownership of the land. And so NFT is just another technology to solve this issue.
So, Iso, if I were to look for some cool NFTs, where would I look?
Huh. Very nice question. It's almost like we planned it this way. So, we have a little bit of an announcement because we have completed successfully Life Math Season 1, and we have also decided to launch these Life Math shorts, and you're listening to one of them right now, and also proceed to Life Math Season 2, which will be coming soon. In between those things, we have decided to celebrate by minting and listing publicly 5 limited edition NFTs of Life Math. That is right. We joined the hype. We have NFTs, and they have been listed for sale.
Do we get a commission forever?
Yes, 10%.
Yes. Whoop whoop.
So any further resales of these NFTs, we will be getting 10% of the value. And as the podcast grows, if we become immensely popular and famous, and people just want to buy the original only five minted NFTs by the podcast, we'll be getting 10% of revenue, and that's the whole point. That this is why it's so good for the creator economy, because we create those collectibles, these 5 NFTs, and as the podcast grows, people like to have collectibles. They might just buy our NFTs, exchange it between themselves, the price may go up, and in the end, this whole thing serves the purpose of bringing money back to the creators who create the podcast originally, which is us too.
Okay, so if I want to buy an NFT hypothetically, how can I do this?
Very hypothetically, you go to OpenSea, it's the biggest NFT marketplace right now, and you can look for the Life Math collection and you'll find it, or just follow the link in the description and in the episode description, and you end up there. Also, hurry up, more than half have already sold, and that's a fact.
Yeah, we just like announced it to a couple of our friends, and they already bought more than half of them. What?
Amazing, right? And so, yeah, exactly. Their reasoning was, well, if you guys ever become very famous and people just want to buy those original collectibles, I want to own one of them so I can resell it for a higher price.
Yeah, good thing I don't
Gamble.
I don't need to buy one because my what is it? My creation is safe on the blockchain.
Very true, very true.
Hi guys. While exploring this topic of NFTs, we realized that it is not easy to create or mint an NFT. We thought we can help other people mint their NFTs. But then we thought a bit more. What if they wanted to gift NFTs? We searched online and didn't find any place, any website that can help you do that. So we did it ourselves. If you go to giftnfts.online, we can help you gift your loved ones an NFT. So, how does it work? You give us your email and an image. We process the image to make it cool. We mint an NFT and send you a link to it. You see it and decide whether you like it or not. If you like it, you can buy it, gift it, keep it, whatever you want. It's all yours. If you don't like it, well, you've wasted us some time, but we still love you. This is the season for NFTs. Stop gifting socks, start gifting NFTs. Go to giftnfts.online.